Those of you who follow my thoughts and ramblings know that I have an affection for the generations, how they think, how they speak, how they respond. Today, I read a couple of pieces that made me so proud of the thoughtfulness of our millennial writers. One was a simple Facebook rant and one a more professional bit, but what I loved about them was the realization that the passage of time has, well, happened. The Facebook rant began with a copy and paste meme that turned into a discussion of how so many of the poster's fathers were having a difficult time understanding the concept that it presented. The conclusion, although no one seemed to come up with a gender angle, did finally come to generational thinking. The professional piece, written by a younger person, went the other direction. As part of her article, she wrote captions under photos of shirts and flags from last week's march on our nation's capital and explained not only what they meant, but what happened at the places they mentioned, such as the Auschwitz concentration camp in Poland. She realized that many of her readers might not have ever studied World War II or the Civil War in any depth, if at all, and her article would be more meaningful if she gave this background in short, easy-to-understand sentences to go along with the photos. Do you love to tell stories? Do you find that you lose your audience as you tell them? Perhaps it is because what is interesting and relevant history to you is something that your listeners never heard of before. Remember that anyone born in the 20th century is now of legal drinking age, which means that when they check your ID, they only need to see the 1 at the front of the year you were born. Everything else is a moot point. Do you live so much in the past that you are not interested in what young people have to say? Or do you live so much in the now that you refuse to hear about anything that happened more than 3 years ago? Every generation views the world through a different lens. That is what makes our perspectives so interesting. It all comes down to being a good communicator. Pay attention, and if you see your listeners' eyes glaze over, perhaps it is time to pull out your cell phones and look up the item that you lost them on. Ask if they've seen a movie that is about the time period that you are talking about. Have a two-sided conversation instead of rattling on and on about your subject. Edit, edit, edit. Ask questions and listen. You will always learn something. For instance, my cousin called me today and found out that his mom had a table at the local confectioner's that she's been sitting at since she was a preteen. He had no idea, and if we'd not been talking about something completely different, it never would have come up. More than anything, make the time you have together enjoyable. When you get right down to it, that's the greatest gift of all. Whether it is messages exchanged on a cell phone or in-person chatting, the gift of time is the best gift you can give each other. My name is the Reverend Kathy Crosby, and there you have it, short and sweet.